delight of living in McKenzie County. My name is Daniel Stenberg, and we are excited about today's topic. It's winters in McKenzie County. I think there's some that it has both beauty and challenges, maybe, depending upon your stage in life, what you're doing for the day. But really, on today's broadcast, we're going to talk with three bright minds, different stages in life, different perspectives, but we're all going to talk about winter in different ways, maybe unique ways of how to approach the season. And they're all like hard to introduce because everybody kind of has a lot of hats that you guys wear. You can, as we get into the program, we can introduce yourselves more, but I'm going to say Nick Ybarra as a trail maker and an outdoor enthusiast. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Okay. Bekah Engebretson, museum event creator and homesteader.
Sounds good.
Guilty as charged. Calli, personal coach, mental health first aid trainer.
That's a glimpse into it.
A glimpse. We'll get to the we'll see what else we get to today. Or maybe that'll have to be on another podcast. But, okay, so you guys are aware of like the bell curve where like a lot of people are usually in the middle of something, like adopting iPhones or adapting different things. There's the early adopters and then the late adopters. And I'm thinking winter is kind of the same way. There's those that really, really don't like winter on one side. The middle, there's the people that, there are some good points. I like Christmas. I like football season. I like, indoor sports, basketball season, high school, whatever. And then there's those that are on the other side of the bell curve that just, they live for winter. They find inspiration through it. I think of my brother. He gets excited about it. He's like, I like to milk the cow in the winter. And so, and that's what makes the world tick is that we have different people in the world. I think maybe there's a little bit more skewed to, I want to get through winter. But I want today's to just kind of talk through those things and maybe shift people's perspective a little bit more to the right of just like, okay, there are maybe some good points about winter. There are some things to be hopeful for. But that's just kind of what I'm thinking of. And so, basically it's not just gloom and doom that we've got here. We want to get to you guys, and I did send you guys kind of an outline of things we might cover. I did not send you some things though, and they're covered up with some answers right here. And so I've got a few questions, jokes that I want. The winner will receive a gift card to the Merc. The Merc is upstairs here at the Visitor Center. And
I actually don't like pressure like this already. No. I just got done saying sometimes I don't like a schedule. And now I'm like, where was the rest of the schedule?
So the first question, and I'm going to keep tallies, and you guys might not, and if you guys don't get any of these answers right, I get to keep the gift card. So first question.
Okay, rules. We all get to answer.
The first one, shout it out. Yep, okay. Yep. How does a snowman get around town?
Where's my children?
Bicycle. Bicycle. Oh. Bicycle, right?
I should have got that.
Nick, okay. Tell us about Nick Ybarra. Who are you?
I have kind of accidentally become an outdoor advocate. And I am a trail builder. I am a race director with my wife for the Badlands races. And then we also founded a 501c3 nonprofit organization that partners with the Forest Service to do the hands-on annual trail maintenance that's required to keep the world-famous Mattahay Trail findable, usable, and enjoyable for all trail users. So that's kind of the role that I've fallen into is trails.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Bismarck, North Dakota.
And you came here when?
Moved to Wofford City in 2008 when I graduated college.
So you've seen a lot of changes in the community.
Yes.
Since 2008.
Wofford City was the same town that Lindsay grew up in when we moved back in 2008. And we were looking forward to getting out of downtown Minneapolis and small town, rural, quiet life. I think we had about 5 or 6 months before things really started to spool up and town started to change.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Have you always been kind of outdoors focused?
As long as I can remember, my mom tells me stories of I would, sneak home to grab a PBJ and some Cheetos for lunch, and she would make me stay inside and drink ice water because she's like, your face is as red as a tomato. You can't go back outside. But yeah, I remember just, I was in that golden age of free range childhood, and
nice.
I would just spend hours and hours and hours outside.
Nice. Okay, so can you just talk through the seasons in McKenzie County and what do you like to do outdoors in each of the seasons, starting with spring maybe?
Yeah, sure. Spring I love because you've got kind of I feel like our 4 seasons, we have distinct seasons, but they're very unpredictable. We have winters where we get feet of snow, and then we have winters where we get very little snow, right? But spring, I always look forward to because depending on how the ground froze in the fall, you might have a really wet, muddy spring, or, you might have a pretty dry spring. So I'm always trying to get out on the trail as soon as possible. I can remember years where I've gone for my first mountain bike in March because the trail was dry and ready to ride. And then there's been years where I haven't gotten to actually mountain bike on the trail until the middle of June because it's been such a wet spring. And so what I look most forward to in spring is the flowers. I see flowers on the trail, and different flower will remind me of a different person in my life. And I love identifying and finding new flowers. So that's always fun. And then summertime has turned into the bulk of my trails jobs. So that is that's peak season. Middle of July is when we are out doing the big push to save the Mattahay Trail. So that's where we really take all of our gear and equipment and we go and we round up any willing and able volunteer that we can. And we go out and we mow hundreds of miles of Badlands single track trail. We manhandle string trimmers, prune branches, shovel dirt. That's when we really take care of the trail system. And I look forward to that. It's the hottest time of the year, and it kind of weans out the weak ones. You really see, who can handle the heat and who can, perform. Fall, I love the changing colors. I love the cooler temps. I love how the Badlands soil reacts to the cooler temps. And it's also spring and fall are our kind of trail building season. That's our shoulder. Middle of summer is when we're doing trail work and hosting races. Fall is great for trail building. I just love digging new trail until the snow flies. And then I connect with your brother Titus so much because he's the only other person I've met, even in Watford City, who loves the snow as much as I do. It's like I've learned to almost feel bad when I'm happy that it's snowing because so many other people are sad that it's snowing or snowing so much, or they have to shovel, or the roads are going to be icy. I've never minded driving on icy roads to get out to some place where I want to go launch a kite, to go kiteboarding on my snowboard, or ride the trail or groom the trail. We do 4-season trail maintenance. So in the wintertime, we're grooming single track trail for snowshoers and fat bikers. And I look forward to every season. I get outside every single day all year round.
Wow. Cool. Any favorite wintertime activities?
I love fat biking, snowshoeing with my dog. I do that every day. But my absolute favorite outdoor activity is snow kiting. So I'll strap on my snowboard and attach to a big kite and just head off over the hills or out on the frozen lake. That is by far my favorite activity.
Where do you go on the lake? Is that Tobacco Gardens or?
I've been on Tobacco Gardens. Try to go where the ice is thick.
Okay.
Good choice. Good choice. Have you ever done that in town? Like, do people watch you? Or do you usually head out?
Yes. My life has evolved. I don't get to kite as much as I used to, but I used to do it down in Madison Flats.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I never caused an accident, but I could always, vehicles driving by always slow down. They'd never seen a kite out in the field with a snowboarder attached to it.
Right.
Any advice you'd have for those who are new at spending time outdoors in McKenzie County?
Yeah. I think start small and plan to do it often. I guess now I didn't always get out every day all winter long. It wasn't until a few years ago when we got our girls a dog, when that finally got me outside every day walking the dog. It used to be the big event. So it was, the wind's big today, so I'm going to go kiting, or my buddies are coming out, we're going fat biking. It was scheduled things. But you plan it, and that's another factor that helps. Plan it with a friend, plan a walk, and then you'll find very quickly what gear works well and what gear you need to adjust. So one of the first times we ever hosted a fat bike race in the winter, race day came and it was negative 20 degrees, and people were asking, are you going to cancel the event? And we're like, no way, this is perfect. This is more bragging rights.
I think I volunteered for that one. My first and last.
Both Nick's.
Yes.
And what happened is everybody came to the starting line. Fat bike racing was I think that was the first fat bike race in North Dakota. And people came to the starting line just bundled up head to toe, went out for their first lap, 5-mile course. And people came in after that first lap and just started stripping layers off. Because it's like you learn what works and what doesn't.
Live and we learn. Excellent. Okay. Joke or question time. Why was the snowman looking through a bag of carrots?
Bicycle.
Close, but no.
Needed a new nose.
Something.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to you. He was picking his nose.
Okay.
Right? All right. So, Bekah, you get 1 point. Okay, Bekah, we're going to talk about you. Tell us about yourself. Who are you?
I am a homeschool mom of 4 daughters and wife, and number 2 of 9. 7 of which live in Watford City. So I'm super family oriented. I've never had to have a birthday party for kids because I could just have family, and it was a big party. So, I work at the museum now, and that's my first job in 23 years. So I've stayed home and enjoyed it.
Do you have favorite wintertime activities that you would say that's kind of season specific?
I love every season. I am inside more than I'm outside in the winter, but I read the book, The Open Air Life, this year, and I'm determined to go on some winter walks with the family, some like night walks. So I love slowing down on purpose and just like enjoying. I love the 45 degree below days where all your senses are so strong, and I'm only out there long enough to like throw some water and watch it freeze, but but it's so.
You actually do that?
Oh yeah, I got kids who you want to do those things. But
blame the kids. The kids. No, you wanted to do it yourself.
Well, I'm definitely curious for those things, but I just love like you cannot experience what it feels like to be that cold, just like the crunch and how you sound breathing, just all of that. Mm-hmm. So I really like to notice all of that and I guess I try to do that for all the seasons. Winter, I don't like when people complain about winter. To me, I'm just like, come on, you live in North Dakota, like own it. And so to me, I just want to find what to do and that I like, which is I don't like the roads. That is something I don't like, but I love to. Like you only get the winter sunsets in the winter. You only get just the way the colors in the sunset are only that way in the winter. So I like to.
There's certain things in the season that can only happen. You can only have Christmas if it's winter out.
I love the forced rest of winter. Yeah.
And that's one thing that we've started doing at my house is like, well, my house came with a hot tub. And I was like, well, I'm not going to run it all year round. I mean, it's more. And so I was like, it's only going to be on during the winter season. And so it's like in the fall, it's like, I'm looking at winter's coming and it's like, oh, but it's turn the hot tub on season pretty soon, and things like that. And you can have
We were like that with kids shows. Like we would only watch TV in the winter because it was like your time to slow down. So it was like, okay, we can finish Little House on the Prairie soon because we were too busy in all the other seasons. So winter was like, okay, we get to watch TV again. So.
Nice.
I'm going to remember what you said. I have to, because I'm not a super fan of the cold, but I can't have Christmas without winter, and I like Christmas. So
there you go. So do you feel that you're on one part of that bell curve at all? Or, I mean, and I think it can be different. I mean, depending upon the day or the time, maybe sometimes we're on the left side, sometimes we're on the right side, sometimes we're in the middle.
I think I don't like negative things. So there's no part of me that would not like anything. Like would be okay with just not liking spring. I'd be like, but spring is this, or but summer is this, or but. So I guess to me, I would always be on the upper side of anything because I'm going to think like positive.
Do you have to choose that, or do you just think that's in your DNA?
I think I purposely, like I would have to seek beauty because if I didn't see it, I would be like, what's the point of anything if it wasn't good and lovely out there? So yes, my personality is to purpose to like look, to notice and to pay attention. And if I didn't, I think my mental health would suffer if I didn't do those things. So I love all of the seasons. Winter is actually super high on my favorite seasons, even though because of, I think, the forced like, you get to breathe and rest. And they pack a lot into a summer in North Dakota. So by then you're like, hallelujah, I got to slow down a little bit. So.
Okay, so over at the Heritage Park, you started an event called Wintering Well, and Brock and I might steal that as for our title for today's message, or for today's podcast. But okay, tell me what is Wintering Well that you're doing over, what's kind of the concept behind it, and then just some of the logistics.
So the concept behind it would be my sister and I were always looking for ways to like get together, but have it be useful, like not just at an event, but like, hey, let's get together and make meatballs all together so we could talk and have fun. So really, we've been trying for years to do that. I started the job at the museum, so it was like perfect timing. We can take our idea. It ended up being perfect time because in 2020, the world went nuts and everybody started seeking simple living to kind of balance all that. And they planted gardens and got chickens and learned to can and crochet and knit. And there's like 20-year-olds with shirts that say in my granny era. And they're just gratified and by the simple life. And probably because life is chaos and moving so fast, so it was perfect timing to slow down and, gather together. So the purpose would be how to better handle the heart of a North Dakota winter. We think it's because you're in community and the reason for the old fashioned activity, like the creative art, was for one thing, you can sit at home and keep knitting your sweater that you learned how to make on the class. And so that makes your life better at home because that's rewarding, working with your hands, seeing the fruit of your labor. But for another, it's at a museum, so it fits with the heritage theme. But there's a need. Like we've been into that a lot, but people do desire that right now. So the timing was perfect. People have loved it. So.
And so just logistics, when do you guys do this?
First Friday of every winter month.
During the winter months.
And it's like this next one is the 7th of February, and it's making granny squares, which can make anything. You can make your clothes, you could make a bag, a gift. Cool. And some people they come to every single one and sometimes they only sit and talk, but others, they jump in and learn whatever there is to learn. It's really laid back. It's just a fun.
Cool.
But the goal is not, they're not at a class to learn a thing. They're learning from others because the skills are best passed down from somebody else versus a YouTube video. And we hope they'll just be invested so they bring their own supplies, because hopefully they'll continue it at home, because we think that makes winter better to do those things.
Love it. I love it. And the Heritage Park is the building kind of on the west side of town with the
all
flags.
The flags,
With all the flags.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know where it is, Google McKenzie County Heritage Park and North Dakota Oil Museum, and you'll come up with the address. Okay. Okay. One more question for you, or a couple. You've told me a little bit about the concept of hygge, Hygge, hygge. That's not how it phonetically is.
Yeah.
But what is it?
I think it's really just like doing something simple that gratifies, like it makes your simple gathering for coffee to like a moment to savor, and it's like purposely cozy, content. You're just it's a meeting needs for simple things by slowing down to do it. I was trying to think of the exact definition. I know it's Scandinavian and I can't remember it, but I think it's more because it's like a mindset. You could make every single thing you did in that way just by taking the time to get your cozy blanket and do your candle and have your coffee, or like you can make ordinary things more special. And that's really hygge at its core, is ordinary is special.
So kind of what you're doing at the Heritage Park.
Yes.
I mean, kind of those events that you're focusing in on.
Before I thought of the name, it was like my sister was like, let's do a hygge theme night once a month. And so then I had recently been learning about wintering as just like this way to regroup and rest and all of that in the winter, or a hard season, just like the importance of wintering. So
Wintering well. So you love alliteration. I mean, it's hard to pass up.
It's the best name I've come up with for anything so far.
Okay, one more question before we get down to more of my fantastic jokes. Talk about homesteading. What is it, and then what do you do during the winter season with homesteading?
Well, again, I think it's like a state of mind, and it becomes intentional connecting with your life in a different way. So for I think it would be, we're connecting with simple living, old-fashioned way, cycles of nature, growing your food, just like not just being a consumer, but you are taking part, you're caring about it. So for us, we wanted our kids to know where their food come from and to care about where it came from, and to do the hard, worthy work it was to live and not just go to the grocery store and buy it. So we wanted to raise our kids that way, and it has changed as they've grown. Now it looks totally different than it did. Now we just have it easy. We have chickens and a big garden, and it could be different. Now I got hungry son-in-laws to feed, so I'll have to adjust my food.
Gotta
that
plant
I grow.
some more potatoes.
Yeah, it's just, I think of it like living with intention to be well connected to your life, and not just in the fast pace. It's easy to be disconnected. So it's like connecting, being connected.
Cool. All right, we'll come back. You've passed your test so far. Okay, this question, it might be controversial. We'll see. I tested it with our CWE student. He was like, what? But people kind of more our age appreciated it upstairs earlier today. So how do you find Will Smith in the snow?
Oh, dear.
You look for Fresh Prince.
Oh, Lord.
Right? Right? Get it?
Okay.
Aiden today was like, I don't get it. And I was like, oh, sorry. Yeah, you probably have to grow up in the 90s. But Brock, on the other hand, he liked it. He laughed, so it made me feel good.
Made you feel good.
Yep. Okay, in addition to questions, I have some quotes that I was going to say. Winter forms our character and brings out our best by Tom Allen. Billy Connolly says there's no such thing as bad weather, only the wrong clothes. To shorten winter, you borrow some money that's due in the springtime, and your winter season will go much quicker, right? Well, let's see what more. Bob Seger, the singer-songwriter, he said 80% of his the work that he produced was produced in the wintertime. It was his time to focus on writing, things like that. Okay, I've got some more good ones, and I even have extra jokes if we need to do a runoff or something.
Fantastic so far.
But okay, a couple other safety tips. Dress in layers if you're kind of new to the area. Layers is a good thing. I mean, Nick, you kind of said that it's like, oh, I need this big, huge parka and then have a t-shirt on underneath. Probably not the best way to go about it, because especially if you start working up a sweat, it's nice to have a sweatshirt layer you can take off or something like that. The North Dakota app, and the North Dakota Roads app, I highly recommend it. Or, I mean, you can look on it on your laptop as well, but they do a really good job. And I've seen the other states in the areas, their weather or their road apps, not quite as robust as North Dakota's. So ND Road app. And okay, I've got a lot more, but I want to get to Calli. We still just have 1 point so far in these dad joke columns. I can't believe it. Calli, tell us about yourself. Who is Calli Thorne?
Oh, I always say that's a very loaded question. I'm from Watford City, so this is home for me, and married my husband, CJ. He's from South Dakota, so he moved up here when he saw there was an oil boom happening.
Up north?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So I've got 3 kids, though, and we farm and ranch. My kids are actually the 5th generation on our ranch right now.
Oh.
So we run a cow-calf operation, do some backgrounding, finish cattle, and sell a lot of beef as well. So we actually have a butcher shop up in Williston, which is kind of a new endeavor, but I do quite a bit of speaking, training, coaching, and a lot of it is either related to leadership, communication, mindset, perspective, which all really helps me in the winter time. And I also offer mental health first aid trainings as well. So I always explain that to people. If you've ever had first aid CPR training, which most people have, but then I always say, have you heard of mental health first aid? And most people haven't heard of it, but we're definitely starting to change that so people can have a little better understanding of it.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm just trying to picking up some of your clues. Maybe would you say that you are naturally on one side of the bell curve or the other, or did it depend on the day? Or
I thought about it as I was driving here for this podcast, and I was like, I can't even lie on here because my friends and family know me so well. I mean, it's the first thing I said when we walked in this room. I'm like, it's cold in here. And they're like, yeah, there's not much for heaters. I am always cold. And I don't use I don't use the word hate very often, but I hate the cold. And I still remember it was probably 10, 15 years ago when the oil boom was starting and it was winter. And I walked into one of our local pharmacies, and the gal was from down south. Because of her accent, I could tell. And I come in just shivering, freezing. I ran in because I don't like to be outside in the cold. And she looked at me in her heavy Southern accent, and she's like, oh, hon, where are you from? And I'm like, do I tell her I'm from here? And I just kind of looked at her. I said, I'm from here. And then she looked bewildered, like, shouldn't you be used to this by now? And she's like, I haven't got used to it yet, but I find the things to do. You know what I mean? It's just part of the seasons, and I like all the seasons, but my family knows I am always cold. So, I mean, you do layers. Layers is the biggest thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Good. Do you have a favorite winter activity? I mean,
you don't dare ask now. Bundling up inside? No. I I like to sled actually, but I usually get hurt when I go sledding.
okay.
I've fractured ankles a couple times when I
Ouch.
go sledding. So it doesn't always end well,
A
but
few times?
I've ended up on crutches. Yes. I always tell people what happened the one time. I was the first to go down the hill. This was in college even. And there was so much snow.
We're not talking skiing. You're sledding.
This was sledding. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun, everybody, but be careful. And I was the first one to go down the hill. We were going to have a bunch of friends over that night. And it was CJ and I. He's like, yeah, go ahead. Looks good. And so I head down the hill, but you couldn't see there was an embankment. And I hit that. And I mean, I came to a dead stop. And sometimes when something hurts, I laugh when I'm in pain. He maybe didn't know that at that time early on in our relationship. And I'm like, no, my ankle, I can't walk. And I'm laughing saying that. Oh no, I was in a boot and on crutches for a few weeks. And one other time it happened too. I put my leg out when we were sledding and yeah, it got kind of ripped apart. So
you laugh during pain. That's through
Yeah.
other pains as well.
So if I say I'm hurt, but I'm laughing, like you kind of have to believe me. I mean, I might laugh, but
Noted. Okay. Learn lots of new things. This is good.
So I mean, I do like sledding, and I don't. I like the hot chocolate that comes afterwards.
Okay,
when
there we
you
go.
back
Okay, let's
inside.
stick with hot chocolate. There we go. Hot chocolate! Exclamation point. Excellent. Okay, but it seems like so we're working with some positive mental energy. It seems like on your part.
I think that's the thing. I have to stay positive and know the green grass is coming, and
Okay.
and it is. It's just part of North Dakota, and I jokingly say that. I'm an individual that I could move and live somewhere else if I wanted to.
Yep.
Having a 5th generation ranch makes it a little trickier that we're not just going to up and move. And
Hard
I
to
know
move 150 cows on a plane. Is that what you're saying?
Right. I know we're not going to do that. And so, and I guess I say this all the time to new people too. This is my thought. This is where a lot of my thinking comes into places. This is the circumstance, right? This is what we're given. We get winter up here in North Dakota. So how do I want to show up to it? I mean, you can be the glass half full or half empty. And when it's a few or several months on end, I want to still enjoy life. And so I have to figure out how to do that, even if it's cold or if it's 115 degrees out.
I think I had a quote that kind of went along with what you're saying, if I can find it. If you choose not to find joy in the snow, you will have less joy in your life, but the same amount of snow. Right?
Yes,
I mean, is that kind of what you're saying?
Right. It's there.
Okay.
I do a lot of when I do coaching with people, it's like, well, the fact is it's 48 below with the wind chill today. And then I get to choose what's my thought about that. Like today's going to be miserable. It's going to be awful. I'm not going to enjoy the day. You can have all those negative thoughts, but I mean, you're writing the script for your day then. Or it's like, okay, it is what it is. We'll throw a few more layers, make sure we've got some food in the car if needed, and go about your day. I think that's the big thing. You have to keep going about your day or you'll sit in your house for 6 months.
Okay. So one of the things that you said that you do, you work on mental health. And so let's just talk seriously about that. What does that mean? What can the winter season do? I mean, it can be a mental thing, but it can be a physical thing as well. Can you just talk more about that?
Right. It seems like a lot of times, sometimes we can become more sedentary, kind of like Rebecca was saying. I love it because it does make me slow down. I think because we farm and ranch, we can work until 10 o'clock and we should probably have supper sometime. Whereas I am asleep in the winter by 10 o'clock. And so when it gets dark, it is a time to slow down, which I enjoy that. But you still have to think about how much am I moving my body? What am I doing? What am I accomplishing and getting done? But I think when it comes to mental health, we've all heard you can get those winter blues. And I think up in North Dakota, we think we're pretty tough sometimes. And we joke about it a lot of times. Just like, oh, the winter's got us down and it seems like the sun might not shine quite as much. You're not getting that vitamin D, all of those things. But I will never forget, it was a couple years ago, I flew down to Mississippi to speak at a conference. And this was in the winter. This was probably February. And the sun was shining and they had green grass. And I walked out the doors of the hotel and I just stood there and I thought, it's not a joke what happens sometimes up in our region because of winter. And just feeling the sun on me and the warmth, it changes a person. And so I think you just have to be aware of that. And so what are those things that fill my cup? And I think people always have to look for that. That's one thing we talk about actually in the mental health first aid classes. Okay, what brings you joy? The season changes, but what is it for you? I think about my mom, for example. She loves going to sports. So she'll even if it's cold out, you have to kind of will yourself to, okay, I'm going to get in the vehicle. I'm going to drive the half hour for us to get to town, but go watch the Wolves play some basketball or volleyball or whatever sport's going on. Yeah. My dad enjoys ice fishing, so he'll take part in that. We live 10 minutes from the river, so he enjoys doing that. My son loves winter. He's got a little mini snowmobile, and so they love being outside, sledding, playing with the dogs and everything. So you just kind of got to find your thing, if it's outside or inside, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay, so there's kind of some positive mental attitudes, things like that people can employ. But what if those just aren't working for somebody? What should somebody do, would you say?
Yeah, it can be tricky. I think you can start off even just community is huge. Being with people, I think, makes a huge difference. And sometimes it might start with just having a conversation with a friend. Hopefully that friend is aware enough that, hey, looks like they want to have a conversation, or maybe things, I think we just need to notice people more often. And it's like, hey, they're not showing up for coffee anymore. I haven't seen them at a basketball game in town for a while, or I invited them to the Long X Arts activity this evening and they just keep saying no to different things. So paying attention, I think, to your friends or having those connections is huge. And having conversation. I mean, that's a lot of what we talk about in the class is how do you notice the signs and symptoms? And then what do you do? I think there's a lot of stigma around mental health challenges, but when people are just willing to care about each other a little more and say, hey, come to our place, let's have supper, or I'd love for you to come to the game with us. And then obviously there's always that point too where there is help around here, whether it's seeking a counselor or therapist in person or online. I hope that is changing. We've definitely been trying to do our part to break that stigma and get people connected when they need it. Or maybe it's a Bible study, or there's just so many different options where I really hope people work to plug themselves in to the community, because that can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, because you're saying so kind of the natural environment can be either easy for you to get along in life, or it can be one of the things that really drags you down. And if you're just in one of those funks, it's better to reach out, friend, or more professional help to get some things accomplished. I mean, a few years ago, I was just kind of like, I'm getting nervous at things that don't generally make me nervous. And I went to the doctor, and he was like, "Oh yeah, try this stuff." And a prescription drug, and it really helped me. And it's just kind of like, I don't have to have this for the rest of my life, but just for this season, I'm going to try it out because it's so much better than suffering in silence, type thing. So.
And a lot of times people wait a long time. I mean, we know that the statistics show it, that oftentimes like 40% of people wait an entire year before seeking help when they maybe knew like, hey, I've been struggling for several months, but I'm just not going in. I don't want people to know that, or they think there's this stigma or what are people going to think of me and stuff. But I think just having an awareness yourself of, man, this is going on too long. Because I mean, I get in a funk at times, different time, especially sometimes in the winter time. And I can be at home and there might be something going on in town or whatever. And it's like, okay, maybe I do just need a night at home. Maybe I've been running too hard or had a lot going on. Maybe it is that night in to relax. But then sometimes it's like, man, my sweats are comfy, but I should just head into town with the family and go watch the game or whatever's going on in town. And I don't know, you have conversation with people and it's usually helpful. But I think that's kind of a sign as if it's not, and things just aren't really improving, asking for help is not an issue. Yep.
It's important. It's hard to do, but it's worth it, I think. Thank you, Calli. Thank you for what you do in our community. And thank you, Bekah, and thank you, Nick, for what you guys do. All very different realms, but I think all helpful for our community to progress. You said something about eating at a restaurant. Okay, so maybe it's a Mexican restaurant. What would be the best Mexican food to have during winter?
I mean, can we just say can I say my favorite restaurant?
You can say it, yeah.
Oh, Tomate.
Tomate, yeah.
Oh my goodness, the carnitas tacos.
Yes.
Yeah, with rice and beans inside of guacamole.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
like, I have that.
That's heaven.
I won't say how many times a week I have that meal.
And they have breakfast buffet now on Sundays. Have you been there for that? I didn't realize that. We were driving past, and they have a breakfast buffet on Sundays too. So,
Is it north on Main?
Uh-huh.
yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Was this a joke, by the way, or a quiz question?
Yeah. Do I get a point?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that was right.
I was wondering the same. Is that a joke? Or am I supposed to answer?
Do you really want to know where I like to eat at? Yes.
At Tomates, you might get a burrito, right?
Oh,
right?
that's the direction you were trying to go.
Okay.
I should look at Brock in the corner. He'd probably give me clues.
No. He swore to me that he would not disclose any of these. I made him swear to me that he would not disclose this because this is important stuff.
I feel like I'm sitting next to my brother-in-law Grayson with these jokes.
What are you saying?
He's pretty dad joking.
I take that as a
Daniel's,
compliment.
yeah, he's like, I'm going to take it as a compliment.
Okay.
I'm just sitting over here way over there. You say food, and I'm just like, yeah.
Tomate.
Tomate. Okay, so I mean, you guys are all smart people, and so if there's something that just kind of that either you have a question for somebody else here, now's the time. I've got a couple more questions. We can go through those, and if you guys want to ask each other that question, great. I've got quite a few more quotes and a couple more just kind of community questions. We're kind of done with individual grillings, and now it'll be what it will be. Some things you can do during winter events. Obviously, the Rough Rider Center has hockey tournaments, basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments. Sometimes if you don't come here with a family, is there somebody in your apartment that you know that they're going to be participating so that you can, I like sports when I know somebody there, and it makes it so much more valuable. It's just more enjoyable to me is like if there's somebody to follow. Other people, they just love the game for loving the game. They can go watch whoever they want to watch. So there's gymnastics. Egg Expo has a lot of events with rodeos. They've got an expo coming up next couple of weeks. Arts Foundation does pottery, painting, drawing classes, pretty much one a week. Look them up, longxarts.com. Snowmobiling, you mentioned your son does snowmobiling, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, hiking, local history visit, the museum, for an indoor cultural experience. Just a lot of different things depending upon what fills your cup. Some people get stressed out by skiing and other people thrive. So find the things that help make you thrive. Not to say to not ever expand your comfort zone by trying something new, because you might come up with something new. But
I should say I do like to ski. I mean, we don't really have skiing hills around here, but it's like I really just talked about accidents with sledding. But I do love to ski, snow ski.
So how many bones have you broken skiing?
None.
Oh,
shockingly, none.
That's your safe zone. I think we need to get you a kite.
Oh, that sounds dangerous.
I've watched that video of you on the kite on the really cold day.
I
remember that video.
What happened?
It's just really cold, and there's a lot of frozen.
Yeah. It's like negative 42.
It was really beautiful.
Okay, a couple more quotes. Oh, that one's too touchy-feely. Let's see here. Okay, the hard soil and 4 months of snow makes the inhabitants of the northern temperate zone wiser and abler than his fellows who enjoys the simple, fixed smile of the tropics.
True or false? No.
That was Ralph Waldo Emerson. Let's see, one more. This is from Albert Camus. And he said, in the depth of winter, I finally learned that there was in me an invincible summer. Kind of, it's inspiring. Too lofty, maybe? I don't know. Okay, back to everybody. Okay, so you guys all have families. How do you guys' kids, spouses adapt differently? I mean, do they approach winter the same way as you guys or differently or?
Yeah, definitely. We also like to go skiing. So I feel like if you just have something to look forward to, because Lindsay doesn't like being cold either, and neither do my girls, right? But she was a figure skater growing up. So like if you have something that you like to do and that you're active and you're generating heat and having fun, that makes a big difference. But she won't go skiing on a day that's like 0 degrees or colder. It has to be at least like 20 degrees for us to go and enjoy skiing. So yeah, and I'll go when it's negative 62. Like that doesn't matter. It has to be, yeah. My family's more fair weather.
Sure.
Winter.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough.
I in the summertime, especially when my kids, well, I shouldn't say that, maybe when they were little or still now, I would hang a sign on the door and be like, you can't come in until I holler for you to come in for lunch. And so I'll still, even when it's cold, I'll send them outside, and they do. They have fun. Lainey's probably the weak link. She comes in first, but then you feel her hands and they're frozen. But that's because she wore thin little mittens, didn't dress appropriately and stuff.
So there's no bad weather, just incorrect clothing? Is that what,
incorrect clothing.
Okay, there you go. Okay, you got a quote for her for that one too.
But I don't know. It's fun. Kind of like I said, you have to keep moving and finding the things you can enjoy. I actually was thinking about this earlier. I have ran several times. I think I've done it 13 times, 13 different groups, 90 miles in 90 days program. And some people think I do it just in the summertime, but I don't. We run it in the winter as well. And I bet 80% of the people in the group don't have a treadmill. I get to cheat because I do have one. But it is so fun seeing people push themselves though too. To not skip a day. It doesn't matter the wind or the temperature, but they are getting their mile in one way or another. And actually, Nick, I think you were the one that talked about the book Comfort Crisis. Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of even this discussion right now. It's one of my favorites, and it just talks about how we're so used to, yes, we're in North Dakota, but we have remote starts. So I can go right from this building, right to my vehicle, right to the grocery store to get what I need and walk indoor to the next place. And it's like, how often do we push ourselves or just try it? Maybe there is some fun. And to be honest, I think of Nick sometimes when it's 60 below and I'm like, he's probably out in the Badlands trekking right now. And I don't even
Negative 62 is my record. I went for a 2-hour fat bike ride last winter at negative 62.
I think I remember that. And I cheered from my house. But then sometimes I pause, and I think mental health wise, I know enough of what movement and fresh air can do for a person. Okay. I mean, the research even shows that now. If you would go for, even if it is on a treadmill or a gym, if you go move your body for 30 minutes and walk and just free your mind, I mean, what it does for your endurance, your energy, your mood, if you have depression, all those things are impacted by just moving your body a little bit more. And research shows if you can do it outdoors, I've even said this, I've noticed it myself, I guess. If I walk on my treadmill at home, I'm on my phone and I'm working half the time. If I go walk outside to our mailbox, if I walk to our mailbox and back, it is 1.4 miles. I'm not on my phone. I'm watching my dog run around. I'm seeing the birds. I hear the crunch of the snow, the wind. I maybe feel my cheeks, how frostbitten they are. But you just notice so much more. Your brain is working differently. And I think that makes a huge difference when you can do those things. And I always say, just because it's hard or it's challenging or it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. I mean, I guess I think that all the time because we're entrepreneurs and run businesses. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's wrong.
I like it.
I sometimes have to think that with the cold too. Just because it's cold doesn't mean that it's wrong or bad.
I've also read The Comfort Crisis, and I think about that as far as, I mean, even winter in North Dakota, or gardening, or just all these things that we're doing. Like, we humans are wired to need worthy struggle, and this easy life that everybody leads where they can DoorDash food instead of getting in their car and going to get it. Like, we're suffering mentally because everything's too easy. So I don't always do 62 below hard things on that level. I'm trying to challenge myself. I'm often busy. I'm the one inside cooking and doing all the stuff. I have been known to tell my kids when they were young, it's only, no, you're not coming in yet. It's only 10 below. Like, it's hardly bad. And it's just, it's easy to do comfortable things. And we don't, yes, I'm a huge fan of the worthy struggle. I think about that all the time ever since I heard somebody use that quote, like, we are wired to need it. Like, we need it. And when the grasshoppers are eating my garden, I'm usually thinking, like, I usually have a mental health crisis of sorts. Georgia, my daughter's like, oh, there goes mom with her garden depression again. And I'm usually like outward processing the struggle of like, oh, what's the point? I do all this work and I could just go to the store and get these potatoes. And why am I like hilling 40 rows of potatoes or whatever it is? But it's like the growth, the thought, just all of those things that come from that struggle is important. So that's how I feel kind of about winter. That's how I feel about all these little things of life. My goal would be like own that worthy struggle at as much as I can. And I don't park in a garage, so I have to go in the cold anyway. But I really think about that of just like everything is so temperate, the clothes, the temperatures, nobody's doing extreme things. It's just, yeah, I loved that book.
I mean, and what's interesting to me is like, okay, so I'm a little bit involved in the homesteading era as well of, you know, just more self-sufficiency, growing food, making food, what have you. But then like my great grandfather is also considered a homesteader from 1906 when he came to McKenzie County. He homesteaded. There was a U.S. federal government program that allowed for it. And I think a lot of people think of those kind of homesteaders. I mean, and they had an easier time coming to the worthy struggle. I think, I mean, their life was every day. I mean, and it was found letters that he had written, and he was just kind of like, I'm such a failure. Because, I mean, he had 2 sons overseas, and he didn't, I mean, with the war, didn't know what to do. He had a 9-year-old kid that died. His oldest son was in a mental institution, all of these different things. I mean, and so it's like, but then I too have found myself like, I sometimes want to have a little bit more of a goal to be working towards, or working with something with my hands. My day job is all the time. It's just computers and meetings. And sometimes at the end of the day, it's kind of like, did I accomplish anything? I'm not sure. But that worthy struggle, sometimes we go and I go on my treadmill, or whatever, just because it's like, I haven't expended enough physical energy today. They didn't have to worry about gyms. Back in the 1930s, their struggles came pretty easily. I mean, with, hay, horses, whatever they had to do. So it's interesting. Humans are an interesting lot. We don't want too much struggle. We don't want not enough struggle. We want to try to find that right balance between them.
We mostly resist it.
When I find us complaining, sometimes I pause, which that's okay. But then same thing with our family, right? It's like, wait, we have cabs, we have heaters, we might have to get out and chop the ice, and you still have to do all the chores and everything. But man, we've got it pretty good. And I think sometimes you do feel a lot better after going outside and physically working in that, facing that challenge. But it's so much of a mentality more than anything. And I think that's where I'm fortunate for myself, but then of course I can help others. But I think about me and things that are hard, and I'm thankful to have those different perspectives of, okay, is this really hard, or what's the challenge today, and how can I just look at it a little bit differently? Because it can completely change your view of things and how you take it on. It probably goes back full circle to what I said. Okay, this is it. This is the circumstance. This is what we've been dealt right now. So how do I want to show up to it?
Love it. Anything that we've missed that we should cover before we close today?
I kind of had a question for Bekah.
Okay.
So being a trails guy, not a large part of our community does trails or, mountain bikes or trail runs. So I get the question a lot in the winter, like, what's your daily life look like in the winter? And there's people that I explain, well, we have a fleet of 10 DR brush mowers, right? These 400-pound mowers. So it's like those need oil changes, and we're maintaining, I'm maintaining our equipment. And then when you go to push a 400-pound brush mower, hundreds of miles in the Badlands, you have to be physically ready for that. So like I spend time every day preparing for that, and then spending time in the sauna, because in July in North Dakota, it can be 115 degrees. You've got to do that. So that's what even though, you think trails are summer, like that's what daily life in the winter is like. What's it like? What are some aspects of homesteading in the wintertime that people wouldn't think of who aren't homesteaders?
Well, I think you work so hard in the fall. Of course, that's when you're harvesting everything and you're wishing you did not grow what you grew. And you're just like, and so winter, really, it's like it's the forced rest where you don't feel guilty for resting, because otherwise you're just like, come on, get on it. You got so much work to do. And then if you are forced to rest, and then really it's paying a lot of attention to, obviously, if I'm being a good steward of everything that I do, that means I'm eating what I grew. Because to me, my goal is to grow as much of my food as I can. So that means I am, eating all the stuff that I put the work in. Otherwise, what's the point of the work? So it's paying attention, noticing, okay, I've still got like tons of tomatoes left. I probably don't need to grow as many next year or whatever. But now it's like I'm almost to the point. I've forced myself, don't start anything till January. If I was starting my onions inside, I would have to do that now. But I like need the break. So then pretty soon I will plan my garden and start seeds and do all of that stuff. But you are like, you're doing maintenance too. You're like, my husband sharpens all the tools for the garden, or, does all that kind of stuff for them. Or you fix the things that you're too busy to take care of. Like right now, he's working on bathroom remodel type things, because you don't have the time in the fall and summer and stuff.
So you do have indoor plumbing? Or do you have an outhouse? Or
no, we have indoor plumbing.
Oh, okay, just checking.
We have a lot of struggles. No, we're doing some remodeling.
Do you know what would be a worthy struggle?
I did have an outhouse at my last house, and it was like my focal point for all my pictures. And I was like, I would usually think like, I'm so glad I don't have to use you in the winter.
I would not go to the bathroom for months.
So do you know what a worthy struggle might be for the next year for you?
Gardening in North Dakota is
how
where they
about
struggle.
An outhouse?
Well, I usually want one. I usually tell my husband, because I've had a million different plumbing troubles. It seems like we have like our septic that we got to dig up in the spring.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm like, I knew we needed an outhouse. And then I'm like, I don't want to use an outhouse. So please don't give me that as a worthy struggle.
Well, at the end, we're all going to do our worthy struggle drawing, and we'll do a draw. Yeah. And so we'll see what you get.
Okay. Nice. It's hard enough to deal with grasshoppers and drought, and that's
worthy struggle is important, though.
Yeah.
Aren't you just saying that almost?
I know. It challenges me every year. Like, I didn't really realize it until Georgia said, "Mom, you do this every year. You go off the deep end." So it's preparing just like anything else, where you're preparing and arming yourself to do hard work again, because it is hard work and right now it's my last year was my first garden with a job, because I haven't had a job for a lot of years. So, and my
paid job,
like a paying job out of the home, it's hard to start seeds, and it's hard to harden off your seeds if you're not home. So it's like, it's a challenge. It's challenging me in a different way. And my kids are growing. I had 2 weddings, and I just have one 16-year-old that I'm homeschooling still. But so having the ability to ebb and flow is essential. So it looks, I don't know. I have a huge garden, and I might only grow a third of it next year. We'll see. I'm still working that out.
Pick your battles.
Yeah.
Anything else, Calli? Nick? Bekah?
No.
Excellent. Good.
Bekah won the trivia. Unless you have more
He's got to
doubts.
have more questions.
Well, that's actually it for the questions. So, congrats,
Go
Bekah.
upstairs
Thank
and
you,
buy
thank
us
you.
ice
I
cream
do like
before
to
we
win.
go outside.
I
There you go. There you go. Okay, so as we end today's podcast, thank you guys for coming. Listeners, thank you for listening. You can drop in the comments ways that you winter well in McKenzie County or wherever you live. I'm going to close out the podcast with a quote from a 19th century Unitarian minister by the name Thomas Wentworth Higgins. How many lessons of faith and beauty should we lose if there were no winter in our year? Go forth, enjoy, find your worthy struggle for 2025.